my name is Jen Vanek. I'm Director of Digital Learning at the EdTech Center at WorldEd, and I'm here with me today is Victoria Ness, who is the Assistant Director of the EdTech Center. At the EdTech Center, we provide technical assistance and professional development to programs like yours to help adult ESL and basic skills practitioners use technology to extend and enhance learning. We also do a lot of field testing of products and support research on issues like digital literacy, distance and blended learning, and technology integration. So what we're going to cover here today is an experience from a research project and support of National Immigration Forum, where we helped them set up completely remote onboarding for their learners. So I'm going to turn it over to Victoria right now to share with you the work.
Great, thanks, Jen. It's great to be here. I'm excited to share our learnings and best practices from our work. And just to give you a bit of context on the project that I'll be presenting on, we supported the National Immigration Forum on a program called Skills and Opportunity for the New American Workforce, which was a contextualized English language learning program for immigrant service workers that had a limited English language proficiency. So 60% of the course was completed through self-paced online learning modules, and then the other 40% was remote instruction through a virtual conferencing tool, which is the image that you see on the screen here. So great. So what we learned with our remote onboarding, one of our effective strategies was this idea of proactive support. So rather than responding to questions or issues that students had, that learners had, we kind of flipped that model and really focused on providing proactive tech support. So what that looked like is before classes started, before the program started, collecting learner contact information, specifically their phone numbers, and reaching out to them. You know, hi Maria, this is your teacher Claudia. Just wanted to make sure that you downloaded the app. Did you have any trouble? Hi Maria, this is Claudia, your teacher. Did you download the learning app? Let me know if you had any trouble. And so that we found was really effective because it first off kind of built this rapport with the learner, and also we were able to catch any issues that came up before the course started. So that strategy was really effective. And, you know, building off of what Drew presented on, using login data or progress data to inform initial outreach strategies is a really great approach. We had teachers look at the login data from their students early on and see, oh, okay, Maria hasn't logged in. Let me reach out to her and see if she had any trouble downloading the app or accessing the learning platform. You know, another thing that we saw specific to the virtual classroom was peer-to-peer tech support. So in some classes, learners that were very comfortable with technology were helping other learners, oftentimes in their first language. So, you know, just to give you guys some ideas of these different models that we've seen. Another thing that is a great practice and important is the resources that you create to support remote onboarding. And what we found to be important is, you know, very simple instructions with clear guidance, and to the extent that you can keep things as, you know, short as possible. So think an image, you know, 3 steps, 1, 2, 3. If it's a video or a screencast, try to make it less than a minute if possible. So making those really quick, focused resources really supported effective onboarding, and I'll give some examples of what those looked like for the work that we did with the National Immigration Forum. Another thing that I'll just add is it's important to be clear about any of the technical requirements in advance. So, will students need an email account? For example, Drew presented on the student self-enrollment process. So with the code, what do you need in advance in order to access the learning platform? And being clear about that before the course starts or before the program starts. So some examples of the resources that were created for the National Immigration Forums project, these step-by-step instructions, which were sent via text message. As you can see, it's very simple, 3 steps to success: choose microphone, mute, unmute. We also created short videos that were sent via text as well. And we're also included on the site, on the learner's dashboard. So having those in 2 places we found to be really effective. And this is an example in the class of, again, like reinforced messaging. That's another great strategy to, text more than once or call more than once to share information. But we also in the class had slides that presented, the key steps that students needed to take in order to access the platform. So that's an example of another slide. The screen that you see here is the slide that was presented in the virtual classroom.
Victoria?
Yes.
There's a question about how you can accomplish this remote onboarding with low or limited literacy, and in the first or second language. And so I wonder if you have any anecdotes or from your work with National Immigration Forum on what the language level of the participants in this remote onboarding was and how they handled it.
Right. So definitely very, very limited English language proficiency. And the National Immigration Forum did have staff that were able to call and do outreach, again, this proactive outreach before the course started to kind of provide one-on-one remote support to them prior to the course starting. So that was one way that they were able to successfully onboard students to the platform. And all of it was done by phone. So, we did develop these videos and, step-by-step instructions, but all of that was done through text messaging and by calls.
There's another question here. How did the remote support look like? What did the remote support look like? And did the staff give instructions on the phone only? Maybe you could just dive a little bit more deeply into what the videos and the text messages had.
Right. So these are great questions. I think, prior to, I would say like the week before the course started and 1 week after the course, there was a lot of time devoted to the support. But then after that initial, let's say like 1 week before, 1 week after period, students were very comfortable with the platform and were able to help each other when they were joining synchronously. In terms of the messaging, I think those really short tutorials and the videos were very helpful for students. And if, when the tech support, when the program staff called, they were able to assess whether or not the learner needed more support, whether that was navigating the platform or whether that was so there was some sort of like system constraint, or, it was an internet problem. So, but having those initial outreach calls really identified like the learners that, were all set, had everything they needed, were able to start the class, no problems. And then the other learners that maybe hadn't had trouble accessing the app or navigating the app, knowing where to find things. So having that, knowing that, and then, talking through those issues with the students through the phone.
Yeah. So there's been a request to just gloss over those example slides one more time.
Oh yeah, definitely. So
again, these are the text messages, and what would the spacing of these text messages look like, Victoria, as the teachers are sending them out?
So the first one was login. So the students had to be able to log in to their learning platform, which is essentially a learning management system like, Moodle or Blackboard, whatever learning management system your program may use. So the first outreach was download the Moodle app, and I don't have those step-by-step instructions here, but they look very similar. So, first step to getting to your class, download the Moodle app or access Moodle from your browser. Type this code in, type this URL in, or, find this app on the App Store. And then the National Immigration Forum handled all of their account information and gave them set them up, called them, and gave them their login info. And that was all done through text. And then once they were in the platform, National Immigration Forum was able to go into the learning management system and see who had logged in and who had not. And then that informed their outreach strategy, as well as they called all the learners and just, developed that communication line with them to say, hey, were you able to download the app successfully? Did you have any questions? Were you able to log in and see your online learning modules? So all of that was kind of spaced out. So the first thing was logging in. The second thing was, were you able to navigate the platform successfully? Did you have any questions? And there was a video that we developed around that as well. That's this video here. This is the first part of it, which goes through the logging into the platform. And there's a second video on navigating the platform, a third video on logging into the virtual conferencing tool, and a fourth video on navigating the features of the platform.
Mm-hmm. So there's another question about use of students' home languages. Did National Immigration Forum use that strategy, or were these students with low literacy in English able to get through the text messages in English?
The National Immigration Forum had staff that could speak, for example, Spanish or Portuguese, so they were able to use their staff to contact those students who were having trouble understanding the instructions, or having trouble reading the instructions because they were in English. I believe that they did create some guidance in other languages. You can see here the welcome slide to the class has several different languages. So I know that they did create some onboarding resources that were in a different language. The videos were not, they were in English.
Great. Well, the questions have slowed down. Any last questions while we're still on this topic? Has anything come in through the Q&A?
Looks like that's been cleared. So the Q&A and the chat is cleared. So yeah, thank you so much.
Great. Well, so I've chatted the link to the reports on that National Immigration Forum work that the EdTech Center did. And the technology section of that report, which Victoria co-authored, walks through some of these steps. So if you feel like you didn't quite catch it, you can actually read it in the National Immigration Forum report. This other link that I just chatted is a link to a brand new web resource that we put together over the last few days. Victoria, since you're sharing, why don't you just, I don't know if you have it up or you can release sharing and I can pull it up. But we've worked very hard since last Thursday to get a web resource together for programs like you who are maybe in the situation of needing to either upscale or start a distance education program from scratch. So we've taken our expertise. I've been doing this kind of work for over a decade and conducting research, doing teacher education, working with IDEAL Consortium member states. IDEAL Consortium is a group of leaders from many adult basic education programs across the country. And so the research I've done with them and through the adult literacy community, literacy communities competition for X Prize, we've learned a lot. And I've written a series of briefs that are linked on this page that walk you through the very beginning. First, here we have Ready, Set, Go. Those are some very early steps you need to take. We've curated resources along the way, along with stuff that we know to be free and places where you can link to free stuff. And then down in the bottom here, we have these implementation areas where we provide what we understand to be effective practice around recruitment, screening, and orientation, instructional issues, and assessment. So our site is more about how to use these tools, building on the great work of developers like Vinod and Drew and Learning Upgrade. So we hope that this site helps you make use of those tools in an actual program perspective. So that's what we have to offer. We can maybe go back to the slides. Victoria can show our email addresses and we can continue to answer questions. Yes, so do go to the site. If you have questions for us, you can reach us here. There are underscores underneath in between our names. So it's Victoria_Neff, Jen_Vanek. We would love to figure out how to help you out with this work too.